That's the stuff we don't have.
No. This happened so quickly I didn't get a chance to record it. What's different about what we're seeing here is on this particular car, all of these parts are real. This is called a Janitrol fuel priming unit. But what this is a heater that runs on jet fuel that goes in an airplane. And it basically works like a shop heater. It superheats fuel and it's used as a heating unit. Now this hose I talked about in another video is like an exhaust port, and it's meant to bend, which is why it has those wrinkles in it. It's a silicone hose. It's from the 60s. This box is made by Zero Halliburton. They make like suitcases and things, but what makes it interesting is you notice there's no edges. It's called a deep drawn enclosure, where they make it like a pot. They take a piece of aluminum and draw it down, and that way there's no seams. And these were just used. You can see the date, 1968. It's interesting. So what we're about to do, little trick that we use. A lot of things on this car get referred to as hockey pucks, but this is a hockey puck, and the hockey puck just happens to be the right size for mounting like this hose. Like it fits all over the place. Hockey pucks come in handy for mounting 3-inch hoses. They just do. Now what's going to happen over here, we've got more Zero boxes. All right, these are already made, already welded. All right, these just basically end up going there. And then you're gonna have these. These are Atom mufflers. These are mufflers that go to an air compressor, which I'm sure will fire up and make noise any minute. And then these are Mallory capacitors, big huge capacitors. And I'll have to go refer to the pictures and see which direction these dots go. It might go this way. I think it goes this way. All right, and that's gonna sit up here like that. And then we got what we call the green tubes, which we're gonna go get those. All this stuff mounts here, and it happens really rather quickly. So the interesting thing is that when we're building Time Machine, if all of the parts are pre-manufactured, right, we can put the car, we can do the assembly of the car rather quickly. All right, so we're gonna get started on that. Yeah. People always ask, how do we get things in the right position? Well, we used to use reference photos of the screen-used A car that we had that were from pre-production, during production, after production, and some of the pictures from when it was just sitting at the park at Universal Studios Hollywood weren't good representations because things were janky. But when the car was restored by the restoration team, Joe Walser and his guys, they carefully went through all the photos and figured out where things go. And, maybe they made some alterations here and there. But we consider the A car, the screen-used car that's at the Peterson Museum, we consider it the gold standard as what we reference. So I've gone back and forth between there and when it was also at Universal Hollywood and just took a whole bunch of detailed photos, right? And so we will use those as references, so like right now we're working on these little silver cans, and the green tubes. And so what we'll do is we'll pull up a couple of photos like this, and we'll look for the reference point of exactly where they sit, on the screen. And this is a picture of the screen-used car. And we'll notate that, the position of these green tubes. Also, the important thing is that the stuff that's on what we call the pontoons, the back windows, they don't parallel with the window. They parallel with the body line of the car. And that's a huge mistake that I see a lot of builders make, is that when they are putting things onto the back windows, they try to run it along the line of the window, and the windows V out because the back of the car slopes in. The front of the car is actually wider than the back of the car. The whole car starts off like a big wedge and then comes V's back, right? So those back windows aren't the reference points. So you want to put the part on and then view it from the front and make sure that it's parallel. And so these are the pictures that we use, and then I've separated them into, you know, right side, left side. So like, for instance, I'm about to start work on the left side, right? So we're about to work on this little part here. Pull this up. Oh, what happened? I lost my picture there. There we go. So, for instance, I want to find the reference point of where these things, and you'll notice, you know, like if you could see, this gets wider because it's running with the body line of the car, not with the window. And there's a lot going on back here. I mean, you've got these cannon elbows, these red capacitors, you know, these things commonly called the hockey pucks. You have this high pressure line, this heating grid, all kinds of wires. So you want to have sufficient space. And we try to get it as close as we can. Down to, you know, maybe not the millimeter, but to as close to that as we can get based on these photos. And what we'll do is basically we know the size of this hose because we have one. We know the size of these. We know the size of these elbows. And by using those things, I mean, you can see they just kind of butt up against each other if you can see on the screen here. So we kind of have an idea of where things go. And a lot of times these things will only go in those places because they just won't fit otherwise. They just made the things fit in there. So we look at these super close photos and I'll say, okay, look, you know, there's like a hairline of distance between the base of this capacitor, this elbow, and this one here, you see. And this doesn't necessarily 100% line up with it. It does kinda, but this one, you know, so like a lot of mistakes I see people make is they try to make each grouping symmetrical, which is how I would do it because I'm a little OCD. You know, I'm the kind of guy who walks into a room and if the picture's crooked, I'll straighten it. But things are not symmetrical on the car. When they were putting the car together, they were just putting it together. They weren't worried about symmetry and balance. Their feng shui was way off when they were doing this. So, but there were certain things that they really got. Like this is a great reference photo in my opinion. This is a great photo of the car. You know, and this comes also to the point of when people talk about the value of the car, what we charge for the car. Research and development, you know, now the whole community has these photos, my photos. But I had to get in my car and drive out to LA to get this information. Going back to 2004, I got on my rickety old Ford Taurus. I drove all the way out to Universal Studios, and I stayed in a hotel there for a week. And I went back and forth looking at the car. Just spent all day long looking at the car, taking measurements, taking rubbings, you know, where you take a piece of paper and you can do that if you can get close enough to it. I would pay off park employees to get access to the car. So these are the things that I used to do in order to get access to the car to get these measurements. But of course, all of that, most of that information wasn't necessarily useful because a lot of it was wrong. And so that's why some of my really early cars before the restoration, they were based on the wrong information. So thankfully, the restoration team has solved most of these mysteries for us. So we're thankful to those guys. And makes all of our jobs a lot easier. Anyway, let's get back to work. So,
Here, like right there.
well, the thing is sometimes, you know, you got to get it all the way back here and as far down. And so because of that, you may not be able to put
Yeah, you're not
a
going to
mount
do the corner.
in there.
That's why they have it in the middle in the other one.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's why you got to check that. And so now we got this hole up here. But and they had it all the way down too. Matter of fact, I mean, you know, so we need to look at the picture of the orientation of these. I'm pretty sure it goes this direction because of the dots on top.
Yeah.
And then we need to look at the overhead photo to see how far they stick out and how far this way, you know, they go. And then this goes basically there. And then the green tubes will sit just slightly, you know, see?
Yeah.
Because you got to have room for the wiring that goes here.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
That's right.
There's wiring that goes there. And then the spacing of here. And then these pipes that go here make immediate bends. And actually one of the issues is that I think if you look closely on the thing, only like 2 of them go into the box and the other one goes behind it or something. But for our purposes, we'll just have them go into the box because we don't have the back window.
Oh yeah.
You know, where it goes in behind. But this is basically the orientation, and I'm not sure what this is about. I don't know if this goes on this back thing, but I know that there's a
No, that goes here.
well, that's not going to reach.
Oh no, it goes on the wall. It goes like right there.
But no, there's another one that goes behind there.
Yeah, there is another one.
And then this coil goes here with a purple clamp, and it runs this way, and it's supposed to dump back there. But we can just have it run up under there and go someplace else because of this. But this is kind of the basic orientation we want. Because if you look at that other picture, this is sticking out of the back of there. So one thing at a time. But this is why you want to kind of mock them all up at the same time, because it helps give you your orientation of this. So go pre-drill a couple of quick holes to access there. So looking at the photos of this grid that I took. It's a full 1 inch from this little corner, just about. And then 3/4 of an inch from there. And then 2 inches up here. So that's how crazy cockeyed it is. So if I can just get this one spot, up here, so 3/4, and 1 inch. Put it right there.
Oh, we usually put a plastic spacer in there.
Yeah.
In between right
there. I'm just getting a hole. Do we have some of those?
Yeah, we have.
Where are they at? I know we do, but like, where are they?
They're over by the caulk guns. Hold on.
Is there a spacer in the picture?
Yeah. Pretty sure. I mean, that's how I built every single one of those we've ever had.
All right. Ow, hot. Ow, it was hot. Ah. I think what I'd like to do is put another spacer right under there. I've actually etched a small line here. You can barely see, but I can see it. Exact. Perfect. Does anybody even use, I mean, other than the little squirts of air I'm doing, is somebody using the air somewhere? Jack maybe or something? The air compressor's running all the time. Either we got a massive leak somewhere, or somebody's using a lot of air.
Well, there's lots of little tiny leaks everywhere. Something's always hiss.
All right, so we know the placement of this just simply from the photos, and it basically butts all the way up against this. Now I'm going to go check the photos again to see if it's sitting right on the edge of this or if there's a gap. These extensions are extremely valuable when doing this kind of work. Gotta have the extensions. I use Milwaukee stuff, it's the best. Because you just need to be able to do this like that. And that's really the key, you know. So this thing just basically butts up. You want it as far over as you can get it. I mean, just because you need every possible piece of space that you can get. What happened? You break it?
No, it's like it's made out of diamond.
So we still need to make a little connector that goes here. Still need to solder wires that go to here, and they get zip tied and braided around. But yeah, there we go. This is and on this side is just about done. There's some wires that go along here, connect to a terminal block. Some stuff to do back here, but this back deck's getting done pretty quickly. Of course, it helps we're using real parts, not having to make them. But yeah, it's coming along. Almost done back here. Well, it already looks way better.
Oh yeah, this is another.
It looks way better. I mean, there was a giant hole there. Now I could tell you just from looking right here, we need a little bit more of a point to the right.
Yeah.
You come
yeah,
look right here.
I'm having that nothing's really crooked.
But you know, if you just look at it, you could see, you know.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, like this is a little rounder.
Yeah. So that, you know, this right here, just here's the point, here's the center, just needs a little bit right there. Yeah, it's coming along.
It's almost done, man.
Yeah, man, you're like you're a sculptor. You're working on a real screen-used Knight Rider. David Hasselhoff farted in that seat, guaranteed. You know he did. Because you know he's sitting there waiting for a scene, sitting in the car all day waiting for a shot. He had a couple of beers, went to Wendy's, right? Michael, did you just poot? Yes, I did, kid.
That was true. It's getting heavy.
All of a sudden, the oxygen vent. Hi guys, it's been a long day. We got a lot done. We got side pontoons. I got this back window in finally. Got a bunch of parts done. So, and Omar got pretty far on the front of the Knight Rider 4000. Jack's been over there working on our Bluesmobile. I didn't get any video of that. And just a lot of stuff has to be done. You know, in this car, I'm going to put in the license plate flipper just like I did on the car that we just sold to Germany. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but, you know, I had a car for sale, Delorean Time Machine for sale. We had listed it on eBay, found a customer in Germany who was actually a previous customer of mine. And he is buying that car, and we're shipping it to Germany. So the last car we built went to Melbourne, Australia. This one's going to Germany. It's crazy. These cars go all over the world, and This is going to be our 35th car, celebrating the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future. So one of the things we're going to be doing coming up, for those of you who are subscribers and want to keep watching this series, we're going to put in my license plate flipper, and we have to modify this rear fascia heavily to do that because we have to cut all this out, and it has to fit up inside there for it to operate. Then we have to run the wiring. I'm going to fortify these rear tail lights. Any DeLorean owner knows that we'll explain all that later, but we're going to put in an LED system in there. We're going to get this rear deck done here real soon and all the back window stuff. And the rear end is going to be done pretty quickly. We have to reroute the exhaust and a couple of other things. Get some of this wiring done. EJ has to get these the flux bands done, and we're going to be using some real parts that I've been saving for a long time. Cole's over there working on that power steering system that we've been putting in. The whole goal with this car is to make it as James Bond and easy to operate as possible. We're probably going to end up changing out this engine, but that's going to be in the future. For right now, we can just use this one to move around with. But there's a lot of cool stuff we're doing to this car that we don't generally do to our other replicas. And I want this one to be not necessarily, I don't want to use the word the best or the most accurate. That gets overused in this community too much. It's going to be the best car for me and our purposes. So there's going to be things about it that are going to be different than from the original car. For instance, it's not going to be a 5-speed, it's going to be an automatic, things like that. We're going to probably change the way the air conditioning is routed, because in the factory car comes out of the center and I want it to blow on me. We're going to put vents in the actual knee pads, and a lot of DeLorean owners are probably like, oh, but you know, we're modifying this car heavily, and we're not as concerned about the screen accuracy as we are the usability. But wherever we can, we want to try to use the real parts and try to make things as accurate as we can, because, hell, let's face it, our reputation is here on the line. We'll be moving to Vegas in the next coming months, and I'm going to, probably in the next video, if you stay tuned this weekend, I'm going to reveal our new place, new house and shop over in East Las Vegas. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to start making trips and moving out there here in about a month. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, see you on the next video.